Most new businesses never survive their first few years. They dry up before they can even take root. What separates fragile startups that wither away from the few that grow into massive, enduring enterprises? At its core, a business is a transformation engine. It takes raw inputs, like materials, labor, or ideas, and converts them into valuable outputs in the form of goods and services. When this engine runs effectively, it generates wealth, provides employment, and elevates the overall quality of life for a society. Every enterprise begins at the establishment stage. Think of a small to medium enterprise, an SME, launching right now in the culinary sector, providing services that used to be done exclusively in the home, like childcare or meal delivery. At this early stage, speed is survival. To stay agile, founders typically operate under simple legal structures, a sole trader or a partnership. This allows them to make rapid decisions and pivot without bureaucratic drag. But this speed comes with a hidden trap. These structures operate with unlimited liability. In the eyes of the law, the founder and the business are the same entity. If the business fails and incurs debt, that legal barrier dissolves. Creditors can seize the founder's personal assets, their savings, their car, even their home, to cover the losses. The agility that allows a startup to launch quickly will destroy its creators if they attempt to grow larger without changing their legal shape. Once a business survives its fragile establishment, it enters the growth phase. Customer demand increases, operations expand, and to handle that weight, the business has to structurally mutate. The most common evolution is incorporating into a private company or a Pty Limited. This move builds a rigid legal firewall between the owners and the enterprise, limiting the founder's personal liability to the money they've invested in the business. This corporate mutation provides access to private equity. By trading ownership slices, shares, for incoming capital, a business can fund its expansion without the anchor of interest-bearing debt. If the business continues to expand to a national or global scale, it undergoes one final structural evolution. It becomes a public company, issuing shares to the general public to pull in massive amounts of capital. We are looking at the physical floor of the Australian Securities Exchange. This is where those public capital exchanges actually happen, pulling in funds from across the entire economy to finance massive corporate operations. Structural evolution equips a business with defensive armor and the capital engine necessary to withstand the crushing pressures of the open market. By the time a company reaches the maturity phase, it operates as a highly complex machine. Management constantly adjusts what we call internal influences, factors they can directly control, like product lines, physical store locations, and corporate culture. This graph shows how that internal control is constantly threatened by external influences. A steady growth curve can be instantly distorted and suppressed by large, uncontrollable wave patterns, like macroeconomic recessions and shifting interest rates. On top of economic cycles, the government adds strict legal regulations through bodies like ASX. Combine that with growing societal demands for environmental sustainability, and the downward pressure on the company compounds. If we look directly at the official syllabus framework for studying business operations, we see exactly this matrix of internal and external influences mapped out as the definitive parameters for corporate survival. Surviving inside this pressure cooker requires a delicate balancing act. Management has to juggle the competing needs of all their stakeholders, meaning they must satisfy the internal demands of their staff, while simultaneously appeasing external customers and government regulators. During the maturity phase, the goal line moves. Success is no longer defined by rapid, explosive growth. Instead, it is measured by a company's ability to maintain equilibrium and hold its ground against relentless, unpredictable turbulence. Eventually, every enterprise enters the final life cycle stage, post-maturity. The market never stops shifting, which means a mature business cannot simply stand still. It arrives at a critical crossroads with three distinct paths. The first path is renewal. Businesses that take this route survive by actively innovating their products, pushing for economies of scale to lower costs, or launching aggressively into global expansion. The second path is decline. If management rests on past successes and fails to adapt to new technologies or shifting social trends, the business suffers a slow, fatal bleed in its market share. And if that decline goes unchecked, it leads to the third path, cessation. The company runs out of cash, resulting in involuntary bankruptcy and forced liquidation. As this node map shows, liquidation functions as a systemic failure. When the central business node collapses, it triggers a shockwave that degrades every connected entity, from employees and suppliers to local investors. The true nature of business is an unending cycle of problem-solving and adaptation. The market demands constant evolution, and the alternative is total extinction.